and good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the 2020 Crossfield, Town of Crossfield, by-election All Candidates Forum. And I have the pleasure of being your moderator tonight. This is the second time I've had the honor of being invited to do this, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity. My name is Bob Rogers. I've worked in Crossfield for over a decade, though I live in Airdrie, which means in a sense of voting, I don't have any skin in the game and am playing the part of the impartial referee, although I don't expect that there'll be any bench clearing brawls tonight for sure. I have a couple of notes to read from both our mayor and the returning officers. So I'll start with a note from Her Worship Mayor Joe Tennant. Well, I am not there in person. I will be watching live stream. I wish all the candidates good luck and thank them for their interest in participating in making Crossfield better, and look forward to working with two of you on council. And that note was from Mayor Joe Tennant. I also have a note from our returning officers. It has recently come to the attention of the returning officer and substitute returning officers that two of the candidates would like to withdraw their names from the by-election. After speaking with Alberta Municipal Affairs, the option to withdraw has passed, as per Section 35 of the Local Authorities Election Act. It is the responsibility of the candidates to advise the electors of their wish to withdraw. It is not the responsibility of the returning officer, the substitute returning officer, or the town to notify the community of their withdrawal. As the withdrawal period has passed, Mike Perry and Frank Wallace's names will still appear on the ballot. Again, they have both requested that their names be withdrawn. It is a real pleasure to be here at an All Candidates Forum. I taught social studies for over 15 years, and I have a passion for democracy, for voting, for civics. This is democracy in action. And democracy was described, I think, especially well by Winston Churchill. He described it as the worst possible way to govern ourselves, except for all the rest. Democracy works best when people participate. In fact, it really only works when people participate. And here you are, proving democracy to be the best of all the possible ways to govern ourselves. If people don't vote, then democracy fails. And so it's so heartening to see all of you here today taking interest and becoming educated about the candidates who are in front of us. So I want to thank you for doing that. And also to all those I cannot see who are watching this as it's live streamed on YouTube, the same as well. There is, of course, no election without candidates. The battle cry of the despot is, I don't care who gets to vote, as long as I get to nominate. Because without people putting their names forward, there can be no fair and free elections. And so that brings us to the three candidates to my left. I would like to take a moment and thank the three of them for putting their names forward as an act of service for their community, because it certainly is an act of service when we enter, or anyone enters into elections and lets their name stand to be an elected official. I think if we watch any TV, we can see that it's rather thankless to take on this job. Whatever our individual political views, I admire everybody who runs for office, holds office, and completes a term in office in every capacity, municipal, federal, provincial, across the board. So briefly, I would just like to ask you to join me in giving a round of applause to our current candidates. And I'll extend that to all past and present members of council as well. Tonight, we are going to meet our three candidates for this by-election. We have done a draw in a random order for their speaking order. The night will progress with first introductions. Each of our candidates will get 3 minutes to introduce themselves to you. They will then have a series of questions that have come from both you on the floor and those at home online. And the online voting is still open up until 8 o'clock tonight. So if you're at home watching, you can still send in your questions to the returning officer and they'll be asked here. I will read the questions. I will probably skip ones that are asked more than once or of a similar theme, but I will otherwise try to ask as many questions as we can. At the end of the night, we'll have another 2 minutes for each candidate to do a concluding statement. Our speaking order tonight is going to be Kim Harris will be speaking first, Joe Lambert will be speaking second, and Justin Gustafson will be speaking third. Now, we will be using the podium. Now, because of COVID, in between each speaker, we're going to take a few moments and wipe down the podium and maintain both our social distancing and our enhanced cleaning. So we'll have a little bit of a delay between our speakers, but I think that'll be fine. With that, I'll ask you to join me in welcoming our first candidate to the podium. Join me in inviting Kim Harris.
Thank you. Just testing, thank you. Thanks for the warm welcome. I'm Kim Harris, candidate for the upcoming Crossfield election. I thought that I would share a little bit about me and why I'm running for council. I attended Mount Royal University Physical Education program many years ago. I've recently finished 4 leadership courses from Harvard online and 1 at the University of Calgary. I've also taken several courses from University of British Columbia in placemaking. I have over 20 years experience working for municipalities as a recreation director, programmer, and most recently for the City of Airdrie community developer for civic partnerships and project management. 3 of the towns I've worked for are very similar in size to Crossfield. Some of my greatest strengths are facilitation, engagement, community development, project management, and facility management and change management. I hope to bring this experience to Crossfield Town Council to help our town grow in a positive way. When my family moved here, we could have chosen anywhere in the Calgary area to live. We looked at Carstairs, Strathmore, Okotoks, other surrounding areas, and when we drove around Crossfield, we really fell in love with Crossfield's charm. The proximity to Calgary, the airport, the walkability to the schools, and the many parks, pathways, and arena. A small town was very important for us to move to and to live in, for our kids to be able to walk to school, see their friends, and have that walkability. We soon found that the residents of Crossfield were very warm and welcoming and embraced our family into their circles. We were immediately embedded in the community with both kids playing hockey, my husband Sean coaching, and I was busy organizing the hockey tournaments. I coached soccer, volunteered at school, fundraised for the school and other community projects, and soon Crossfield became more than a place to live. Crossfield became our home and a place that we love. My platform consists of transparency and accountability, engagement with residents, businesses, and our not-for-profit groups, connecting with all levels of government and having that good relationship, supporting and attracting business, balanced fiscal accountability, a commitment to building a walkable, livable, welcoming Crossfield, and community safety. I am authentic, my morals and values align with my platform, and I can promise that my actions will be transparent and accountable. These aren't buzzwords for me, this is how I live my life. If any of you have ever know me or have talked to me, you will know that I am authentic. I love how friendly and welcoming the residents are. You have proven time and time again how open and welcoming you are. I've seen it on the forum, I see it walking around Crossfield, and I've been a part of your warmth for the past 13 years. It's not just about coming into council and initiating conversations on how we as council can be transparent and accountable. It's about finding a way to move the community forward. Thank you for Crossfield. I look forward to representing you on council.
We'll have a brief pause while we wipe down the podium. Maybe I should tell jokes in between. Okay, I'm going to do us a favor and not do that. Our second candidate is Joe Lambert.
Is this working? Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out this evening, and for you online, thank you for watching. As our esteemed moderator said, I'm Joe Lambert, and I'd like to take a few moments to tell you a little about myself and the reasons behind my decision to put forth my name for the town of Crossfield Council. My husband Leo and I moved to Crossfield a little over 4 years ago. After a number of years of working and living in Bicycur and running the hardware store in Irricana and a bed and breakfast in Bicycur, Leo was ready to retire. We wanted to find a place to settle and call home. We took some time and effort considering a number of communities in this area. We're small town people who value close community and a chance to get to know and interact with our neighbors. Crossfield checked all these boxes. You have a beautiful, progressive, viable town in close proximity to the essential services only accessible in larger centers. Having served 30 years as both the Chief Administrative Officer and the Chief Financial Officers in municipalities in Alberta, and holding a Bachelor of Commerce degree with a major in accounting from the University of Lethbridge, I've enjoyed the opportunity to delve deep into the world of municipal administration and governance. At this point in my career, I've been searching for a way to give back to my community. When the opening on council came up, it seemed a perfect opportunity for me to offer up my knowledge and experience by serving my fellow residents and commit to helping make our home the best that it can be. The number one duty of any councillor is to consider the welfare and best interests of the municipality as a whole. This means ensuring that every decision is backed by thorough investigation, strong financial sense, and a sound and meaningful solution for the future of residents and businesses. Not every decision is easy. Sometimes there are perceived winners and losers. But as your councillor, I pledge to apply protocol legislated by the Municipal Government Act, Crossfield bylaws and policies, and a firm and thoughtful common sense approach to decisions. In any situation, it's imperative that all pertinent information and options have been considered. Clear, open dialogue with the citizens of Crossfield, careful consideration of the consequences of decisions is my path to working with my fellow councillors to provide us all with a safe, prosperous, and enjoyable home and workplace. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Our third speaker this evening is Justin Gustafson.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Just like Joe said, it's lovely to see everybody out here tonight, and just all these familiar faces and everybody that cares about our town and what it stands for and how we can grow it and make it a better place. For those that don't know me, my name is Justin Gustafson, and I've been proud to call Crossfield home since 2004 for 16 years now. I've raised a son here with my wife, and just love all of the people that I've met and been able to become friends with. So, Crossfield is such a great place to raise and care for a family, and all the wonderful people that help raise all of our children here. We have great neighbors, and I'm just kind of wondering why more people don't move out here, because it is such a great place. You know, it's quiet most times. We have some issues here and there, but for the most part, it's a great place to live and raise our families. As for why I'm here tonight, and with my family's support, I've decided once again to, put my name back in the hat and try to dedicate part of my life to help the community again. I do a lot of volunteering in town as well, but this is another way for me to give back to the town. When I was thinking about running for council and what it means to me, and what I guess it means to me is educate us on the processes and why they're doing what they're doing. And that comes with transparency as well, and then being accountable to all the voters that have voted us in. So I believe with my experience in business and with my volunteering that I can try to do all of those things that I've explained. And also I just want to talk a little bit about respect and how we should respect each other and everybody's thoughts. And I see my time's up, so thank you all.
Thank you, Justin, and we'll take another brief pause for COVID wiping. Okay. Yeah. I have a number of questions that have been submitted as people came in the door. So we're going to begin with everybody having a chance to address the question first. Each candidate will have a chance to answer each question. They can pass if they choose to, and they'll have up to 1 minute to speak to each question. We'll rotate who begins answering each question as we move through this. We have actually a fair amount of time, so I think we can likely get through a fair number of questions. I'm going to pull them at random. If I get a same question more than once or on a similar topic, I will move through them. Otherwise, I'm not going to censor or vet any of these questions. Okay, so our first, we're going to start with Joe Lambert having the chance to answer first. So Joe, you're going to get 1 minute to answer this question. Following that, then it'll be Justin's turn to answer, and then Kim. And that's the order for the first question. So Joe, for you, the question is, how do you feel you would handle the CAO wanting to operate in the gray area? I'll repeat the question. How do you feel you would handle the CAO wanting to operate in the gray area? Joe Lambert.
In my 8 years of experience, I found that there really isn't a gray area. The Municipal Government Act is very clear on most of the things you can and cannot do. But if the CAO wanted to work in the gray area, I would be, I think, putting my foot down and we would have to find another way to do it that follows the protocols, procedures of the MGA and Crossfield's policies and procedures. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
Hello? There we go. I'll just reiterate what Joe had to say. There is no gray area. We have to abide by the rules set out by the government and stick by them wholeheartedly. We can't do that. We have to be accountable to our residents. It needs to be. I don't know how to say it any clearer that there is no gray area. Absolutely none.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
So the question is, how do you feel you will handle the CAO wanting to operate in the gray area? Like Joe and Justin just alluded to, the MGA Act manages a lot of that. What some pieces may not manage, the CAO's contract and the policies and code of conduct policy that the town has will also come into play. My experience of being on municipalities for many years will also lend itself to having some clear, concise direction to the CAO and having clear, concise reports at council meetings for everyone.
Thank you, Kim. Our second question, the first respondent will be Justin this time. And then it'll go to Kim and then Joe. So Justin, how do you think your education or work experience will be a benefit to town council? Again, how do you think your education and work experience will be a benefit to town council?
So I've been, I guess, in the oil and gas industry for many, many years. Trust is a big thing. And if the residents trust us enough to elect us and be the people we are and make the decisions we can, I'm struggling a little bit on this one because I do have a lot of experience with dealing with people and making really good sound decisions based on facts. So that's one big thing that I would transfer over from my business life is basing our decisions on sound facts.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
My leadership and over 20 years of municipal experience kind of speaks for itself. I have been part of policy development, reporting. I'm the one that reports to council now, so I'm very familiar with how that works and what goes into a report and what us as councillors will expect from a report. I'm also very familiar with the MGA Act, and I'm very familiar with public engagement, working with the public and bringing groups in to make sure that projects move forward.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
My education and my experience as a CFO in municipal government, I understand budgets, I understand financial statements, I understand grants. As a small business owner myself, I understand how hard it is to be a small business in a smaller community, especially when you're only 16 kilometers away from a big community. I also understand, after 30 years in local government, how it works, good and bad. Thank you.
Whoops. Thank you. Our third question, and Kim, you'll have the chance to answer this question first, followed by Joe and then Justin. So Kim, to you, what would you do to attract more independent business and support local existing businesses to thrive? Again, what would you do to attract more independent businesses and support local existing businesses to thrive?
Now, that's a good question. I think currently the town has an economic development plan that I would really like to have a look at before, we start making decisions. But I think we're on the right track when we're beautifying our downtown. I think the other thing that comes along with that is we have to find a way not to have empty buildings and empty lots and those types of things downtown. When people come to Crossfield, what the first attraction to Crossfield is how beautiful a place looks. We can do some really inexpensive fixes to that to beautify Crossfield to attract people to come into that. And that's one of my passions. It's called placemaking, and there's certain drivers that allow that to happen. So there's 3 drivers. One's aesthetics, how beautiful a place is. One's social connections, what is there to do in a town. And the third one eludes me right now, but I'll get back to that at a later time. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
Attracting new businesses to a small town is not an easy job. I would like to know myself what the economic development for Crossfield is working on. I don't think I'd tear up Main Street during COVID. I think that would probably be one thing I wouldn't do. But I think I would want to delve deeper into the economic development, the state of the finances, to see if there's any maybe tax incentives we can use to attract new businesses. But I think it's not an easy job, and it's something that I'd have to delve a little deeper into before I can give you any firm ideas. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
Well, I guess we could all, as residents, get on Facebook and just tell everybody to come here and start a business. Maybe that would work, but that's a joke, everyone. So, not that social media is a bad thing, but it is a good platform. I'm not too clear on what Crossfield's economic plan is right now. Council meeting that we are, with 2 new councillors coming in, they were going to revisit the economic plan as well. So that question might be deferred until a later date, but it is very tough to get a large, to get businesses to come in when you're so close to larger centers here like this, but we sure can try.
Thank you, Justin. I'm going to call that round 1 of our questions. Each candidate's had a chance to answer a question first, and I'm briefly going to pause before the next question to invite you all to come on Monday, October 19th to vote in this by-election. The voting place will be right here in the Crossfield Community Center. The polls will open at 10 a.m. and they're going to close at 8 p.m. So that's 10 to 8. Once again, that's Monday, October 19th from 10 to 8. And please bring an ID so that you're able to vote. I'm now going to continue with what I'm going to call round 2 once I get to my proper page. Round 2 of the questions. And again, I'm going to remind the audience that I'm reading all of the questions that have been submitted, and I'm not going to censor or edit any of them. So I am asking the questions as they've been presented to us. So Joe, you'll have a chance to answer first again for this question. Concerns have been raised of a toxic work environment within Town Hall. How do you plan to address and/or resolve this? Again, concerns have been raised of a toxic work environment within Town Hall. How do you plan to address and/or resolve this? Joe.
This is another hard one because as one counselor, you can't do anything. The only person that works for council is the CAO. I think the thing is you have to listen to the concerns of the staff. Then you have to sit down as a council with your CAO and try and resolve what is causing this toxic situation. If it's a toxic situation between the CAO and the council, then council has to get together as a group and decide where they're going to go with that, sanctions, or as a final step, termination. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Justin? Yes, I can. Yes, the question is, concerns have been raised of a toxic work environment within Town Hall. How do you plan to address and or resolve this?
So if I'm listening to the question right, well, maybe I'm just kind of guessing. Maybe it's, are we talking about administration in the town hall, or just, I guess there's two parts to it. But they can all be solved by one, fairly simple solution. We need to respect each other. We need to be, the counselors need to be transparent, and I did write some stuff down here. That if it is toxic, then we need to basically nip it in a bud and move on. No matter what we need to do, we need to make sure that it's a healthy, happy environment for everybody involved, even in town council meetings that we can come and enjoy, all our residents, and that's about it.
Thank you, Justin. Kim? Quick minutes. The minutes are quick.
Joe's absolutely right when she talks about the CAO only has one staff, and that is the CAO. I think in that case, council guides policy and budget, and it's a matter of making some policies that address that. The second thing is a survey to staff can go out that's anonymous, and then a report on those results can come back to council, and we can coach and resolve the CAO based on that information and hope that he reforms. And if the CAO doesn't want to reform, we review the contract of the CAO and take appropriate action from there.
Thank you, Kim. The second question will be answered first by Justin, followed by Kim, and then Joe. This question is slightly more lengthy, so I'm going to read it twice again. Okay. Please briefly describe a recent situation in which you, as a leader of an organization or group, used a collaborative or consensus approach to make a decision that was of benefit to the community rather than to an individual. What worked well? What do you plan to use as a guide as a potential member of council? I'm going to read the first part of that question a second time. Please briefly describe a recent situation in which you, as a leader of an organization or group, used a collaborative or consensus approach to make a decision that was of benefit to the community rather than to an individual. Justin.
Well, I can give you quite a few situations, as I am the head of the Elks here in town, and we make a lot of decisions concerning donations, especially scholarships to the school. And with that, we collaborate with not only the Elks, but members from the W.G. Murdoch School to decide on scholarships, and I guess that's how it benefits the children of our town. So everyone that attends a school in Crossfield and decides to go to post-secondary can apply for the Elks W.G. Murdoch Scholarship, and then they can benefit from the money they receive.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
I'm a community developer for the city of Airdrie, and that's my job. Everything I do for the city is for public benefit, and everything I do as a community developer has to engage the community. For example, back in 2011, the Canada Day Parade was run by the Rodeo Association, and the fireworks were run for Canada Day from the Rodeo Association and Festival of Lights. At that time, they had decided that they wouldn't be able to have the capacity to do that anymore. So I was guided from a request from council to find a committee to help with that and establish that. We established that committee. They took on Santa Claus Parade, Canada Parade, and both sets of fireworks. They make the decisions. We helped and supported them throughout the whole thing, and they've been going now for over 11 years. That's just one of many examples. We can take the 2020 games, the 2014 games. We can look at how we build libraries and other facilities in Airdrie. We do the same process.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
Well, I'm really sorry. I don't have anything nearly as interesting or as important as my other two colleagues have. I ran small towns and villages for 30 years. I don't know how many things I can't pick one specific thing that we did to make the whole municipality better. Between myself and council, and for the most part, my council and I always worked as a team. So I wouldn't call myself a leader. Even when I was CAO, I didn't call myself a leader. I worked with a team, and we were all one. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. Our next question will be for Kim, and then Joe will answer second and Justin third. This question just came in from our online audience. And it's actually our first question from online, so I thought I'd go to it. Issues. Let me repeat that question. How would council deal with contractors if they don't perform, and issues that arise with the job?
Yeah, typically an RFP goes out to contractors when we're taking bids on those. So everything's in the RFP and the contract that is signed between the contractors and the municipality. If the contractor doesn't follow the steps that they need to take as per that contract, there will be conditions in that contract that we can refer to decide whether we keep that contractor on or if we have to let them go.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
I just want to reiterate what Kim said. Most projects involving a contractor always have a contract. If they don't finish on time, usually there's a clause that says they owe you money, which is great. And if they don't do what they want, or what they're supposed to do, then they're in breach of contract, and that will probably also cost them some money. But I think if you can talk to your contractors for the most part and help them resolve the issues, I think that's your best bet, because then you're delaying a project if you have to stop and start over again with a new contractor. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
So in the businesses I've been with, I've dealt with many vendors and contracts, and the way, you take a look at the contract, and if they're failing to fulfill that contract, then there is penalties that need to be put into place so that I guess the town residents aren't put out put out because of lateness or disruption of service. One thing I would do is definitely look over the contracts and ensure that the penalties for, say, failing to deliver on time or, disruption of service is enough for that contract. So, for example, the Main Street here in town, that if they don't deliver on time, then the penalties are quite severe. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. So that's our second round of 3 questions. I actually have 3 questions left here, and I've got a 4th one. Okay. And I will mention that the online poll to ask questions is still open and is intended to be open until 8 o'clock. So for our audience who is online, you still have an opportunity to submit questions. So I'm going to go, so we start with Joe once again for the next question. Now this one, I've got 2 questions that are very similar in philosophy and tone, so I'm going to combine them into a single question. I'll read them both, but then you'll see that they are really connected. So how important is it for a counselor to follow a code of conduct? And the other question is, how important is it holding accountability to doing the right thing? So there's a thematic connection between these 2. So again, how important is it for a counselor to follow a code of conduct, hold accountability, and do the right thing?
I think it's very important for a counselor to follow a code of conduct. A counselor is serving the people who elected them. Being a counselor doesn't give you any extra points in the world, doesn't give you any extra benefits in your town. I think it's very important that all council, anybody who represents your town, holds a strong moral standard and lives up to what the people are expecting of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
Well, that's an easy one for me, as, I know if I go home at night and I look at my family in their eyes, and I look at my neighbors and my friends, and know that I do the right thing, I know that, I can be happy with that, and because, I do have neighbors to go home, and family to go home to, and if I don't do the right thing and be honest and trustworthy and accountable to everyone, then I shouldn't be having my name stand here for council.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
It's imperative that councillors uphold the MGA Act, are accountable, and follow the code of conduct. It's not just about us as councillors and us as individuals, it's about the town as a whole. We want to represent this town the best that we can for the residents that voted us in and for those who are just moving here. We want to make sure that our town is known for really good things, and I think that if we follow that conduct and we hold each other accountable on council and call each other out if we're crossing the line, or if staff lets us know, hey, that's part of the MGA Act, you can't do that, you have to go this way, then I think that's exactly what we have to do.
Thank you, Kim. Joe? Sorry, Joe, you started this one, didn't you? My bad. Okay. Thank you for calling me on that one. Okay. We'll go to our first responder for the next question is you, Justin, followed by Kim and then Joe. So this question is, what are your thoughts about a large tax increase for next year? What are your thoughts about a large tax increase for next year?
Well, for those who weren't at the last town council meeting, that was a little bit shocking to know that we're going to be in the hole. And, you know, how do we get out of the hole? Everybody's got to chip in. You know, does it have to be a huge increase? You know, can everybody chip in a bit? You know, can it be spread over time? You know, I don't like to pay taxes, and I don't think anybody else does. We do all enjoy every part of this town. Well, not every part of this town, but we can enjoy this, you know, all the parts that Crossfield has to offer. And, you know, the cost of that possibly can be an increase, but you would hope that it would not come to that, and I wish that we don't have a large increase. If there's any way around it, I would kind of vote against it.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
Nobody likes a tax increase, that's for sure. But at times, that is something that you have to do. I'm for balanced fiscal responsibility, and what that means to me is we will look within from the town budget to see what we can put on hold first, where we can tighten our belts, where the staff can tighten their belts, where we can defer projects, and where we can look for other things. I think that we also want to look at the other revenue side, whether revenues, are there some levies that we can increase? Are there some grants we can apply for? I think right now the federal government has a grant for municipalities that we don't know what the amount is for, so that could lighten the load. But having a smaller increase, not a larger one that they were talking about, but a bit smaller one, incremental every year, is better than having a huge tax increase in 1 year.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
With the state that the provincial and federal governments are going to be in with their deficits, I can see them cutting grants to municipalities and downloading a lot more work onto municipalities that they don't want to pay for. So I think it will be a challenge to try. The horror story that was put forward by the CAO is going to be exactly as bad as he said. I know he missed a $400,000 grant on his little speech that they'd already applied for, which will be good for next year's projects. But it's going to take creativity to find ways to offer Crossfield the services it wants and to continue on with budgets, with doing our infrastructure. So I don't think it's impossible. I don't think there's a need for a large increase. You just need to be creative.
Thank you, Joe. Our next question will be answered first by Kim, and then Joe, and then Justin. The question is, are any candidates affiliated with the group of residents who meet up to discuss how they think the town should be run? I want to make sure I'm voting for someone acting on their own and not being coached. Again, I'm just reading the question. So, are there any candidates affiliated with the group of residents who meet up to discuss how they think the town should be run? I want to make sure I'm voting for someone acting on their own and not being coached. Kim?
No.
All right, thank you, Kim. Joe?
Likewise, no.
Justin?
Is this a trick question?
The candidate has a minute to answer any way you wish.
Okay. I think the question is a little bit loaded. I think we all have friends and we all think that we know how the town should run, but the answer is no. I am not affiliated. The only group I'm affiliated in town is the Crossfield Elks 416.
Thank you, Justin. Right, well, fair enough. Yeah, all candidates are entitled to 1 minute for all questions. All right. Okay, that is round 3 I have. Okay, and we still have time for online questions to come in, and we're getting a few of those. Joe, you're actually so I've got a question that it appears was addressed to some comments you made earlier, so I'll give you the first chance to respond to this, since it is also your turn to speak first. This question is, if we do not fix the streets now, what would happen when our water lines and pipes broke? Are our pipes not in a critical state? Again, if we do not fix the streets now, what would happen when our water lines and pipes broke? Are our pipes not in a critical state?
Well, as I haven't talked to the supervisor of operations, I don't know how critical the lines are under the streets. But in the 4 years I've been here, I haven't seen a water main break on Main Street. So I think that there's a possibility that we can still do it. We don't need to disrupt the whole downtown for another summer. I think with the work that went on last year with COVID and now digging up the streets this year, I think we're putting an awful burden on our poor businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
So just like Joe was saying, that I as well need to take a look at what the town was actually doing there. It'd be nice to actually see what the assessments that the contractor actually said, and not just, I guess, take it for anybody's word around town that, you know, it was decaying or, you know, critical. I'd like to have my eyes on actually the documents that, you know, show that our infrastructure under Main Street were critical. And if they were, you know, we have to do what we've got to do. As everybody kind of knows that stuff rolls downhill and it actually goes through Main Street. So, you know, that is a critical area, and we do have to fix those things. And just like our own houses, if we don't fix our sewer pipes, we'll have problems in our basements and so on. But definitely be able to put my own eyes on that documents before I'd make a educated decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
From my understanding, the town had a company come in and they put cameras down into the sewer and the water pipes and deemed them necessary to fix this year. I think that it is smart not to phase some of it in, because when you phase projects in, it typically costs more. If you can do the water and the sewer pipes at the same time, as well as have new pavement and do some beautification and fixes downtown, I think that's probably a benefit for the town. I also think that each municipality, and I don't think Crossfield's a stranger to this, is having an asset management plan and knowing when your infrastructure is, what stage of life it's at, and knowing when you can fix it and when you should fix it, and you plan accordingly in your budget for that.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, our next question then will go to Justin to answer first, followed by Kim and then Joe. Justin, this question is, what do you feel is more important for our town right now, building new homes and commercial spaces, or figuring out how to fill empty real estate? Again, what do you feel is most important for our town right now, building new homes and commercial spaces, or figuring out how to fill empty real estate?
I guess that's kind of like the chicken and the egg question. We need the people to come here to engage in our businesses that we want to come here, but if there's no businesses here, what's the draw? So I guess that's a very tough question, and you hope they both came at the same time, but it is, you know, generally what happens is you get more residents, and then with that more residents, people want to decide that they want to have a business in town and keep people from going to the big city. So if it was me, I would maybe lean on a little bit on the residential side, but you know, we still need to build on some of those vacant lots that haven't been built on and make our town beautiful.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
So similar to Justin, I think that it's a balanced approach. Sometimes a municipality has to reach a certain size before we start attracting commercial stores and other commercial entities into town. If you look, for example, at the town of Olds, they were once just this small town, just like Crossfield, with very few amenities. And as soon as they hit between that 5,000 and 8,000 mark, you saw them getting Canadian Tires and Walmarts and other grocery stores and this and that in town. So it's kind of hand in hand. I also think that we have to have a plan and a bylaw in our planning department to address the empty lots and not have a statutory timeline on it for people to build.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
I do feel that it's a balanced approach. If you don't have the people, you won't get the businesses. We want growth, we want new businesses, but we don't want to grow too fast. We don't want to outgrow our infrastructure. We don't want to end up being an Okotoks or a Cochrane. It would be wonderful to be that big and have all their amenities, but they also have a lot of infrastructure problems. So I can't really say which one is best. I think if we can grow gradually, we'll attract more businesses, and maybe the downtown revitalization will make our downtown more attractive. Maybe we can get businesses in here that are unique. It drew people from Calgary to see what new strange thing he'd brought in. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. I worked in Bicycle. I hope I wasn't one of the strange things. Sorry, a bit of an aside there. Kim, the next question you'll have the chance to answer first, and we are still taking questions from the floor as well. If you are in the room and would like to jot a question down, you can bring it up to the front, and I see we've actually got a few of those. So this question is the first, a moment of levity. This is the first one we've had. This is a COVID-related question, and it's the first one we've had, so I pulled it out of the pile. Would you want a mask bylaw? Would you want a mask bylaw?
That's a good question for the times that we're in right now. I think that some of our other municipalities around us have already made some really good decisions on that by not mandating that there's a mask bylaw at this time until we either reach certain numbers within our town or other factors are involved. So I personally would like to think that our residents are very responsible and can make those decisions for themselves, and we can just help guide and put the messages out.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't think at this point in time that Crossfield needs a mask bylaw. I think people are sensible enough to know the times when they should be wearing a mask and the times when they feel a lot safer. And I do think that helps to maybe bring some people from the city out, although we're not sure we want their germs either, are we? So, thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
I think in some situations it's a good idea to have a face covering or a mask, and there's a lot of ideas going back and forth whether a mask is good or not. But I certainly think that we need to, protect our residents or you know, neighbors, friends that are most vulnerable, and make sure that, you know, they don't get sick. Whether we decide to put a mask on, I think that should come up to our own personal decision, and I wouldn't put a byline.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, we'll go into our next round of questions. This will be round 5. I will note that the online polls are now closed, so our folks at home will have a chance to continue listening to the questions, but we're not taking any more questions online. Those in the room, we are still taking questions for a little bit. I think we have enough time to answer the ones on my table, and probably a few more, unless the candidates start to wave us off. I think they're, yeah, and I think we might not have paid much attention to that. Okay, so the next round of questions, Joe, again, you get the first question for this one. And so this question is, how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town? How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town?
I think that the residents are involved by electing councillors, but the best thing for a councillor to do is to listen. I mean, we can't, one person is one vote of 5, but we can listen and we can try and make sure that the viewpoints that we're hearing in the grocery store, in the coffee shop, at the hairdressers, are being heard by the rest of council. And to make sure that those point of views are utmost in the minds of the council when they're making a decision.
Thank you, Joe. Justin? Certainly. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in our town?
I guess I can answer this by some of the comments that I made in a couple of the last town council meetings, that I think that they should, on some of these bigger decisions, that they should, you know, engage maybe some more like town hall meetings versus just the council meetings, where they can, you know, even, you know, a crowd this size where we can engage more people than what the town council can hold. Also, I would just encourage every councillor and the mayor as well to engage the public. You know, even if you got to walk door to door and talk to your neighbors and ask them questions and actually listen and bring that back to council for debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
I think this is the exciting part of being a councillor, is being able to engage our residents in a lot of the decisions that we make. Some of the ways that we can do that is with public engagements, tabletops, surveys, other opportunities to be involved in some of our committees and boards of council, on some new committees to help make those decisions to, say, build a skateboard park. Maybe somebody wants to be on that committee to help out, become a society, apply for grants, and help the town gain another asset. These are all things that, as a councillor, we would invite, being open to meeting with the residents when they have a question, no matter what the question is, and listening to them and seeing what their needs are.
Thank you, Kim. And Joe? You started. Twice I've done that, isn't it? I'll try not to make it 3 times. Okay, our next question goes to Justin to answer first. Justin, what is your biggest want for this town? What is your biggest want for this town?
Well, 10 years ago, I would have thought that I wanted a new fancy arena with a great concession stand, and but now my son's his last year of minor hockey. You know, maybe my thoughts have changed. But you know what? I see all the kids that enjoy the arena, the places where our families can enjoy. That would be my biggest want in the town. That's what attracts people to our town. That's what helps us grow, and that's what I would say. You know, events and places where our families can enjoy.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
I think this is a really easy one for me. I've always dreamed that Crossfield could be a place where my kids, your kids, everyone else's kids will move back to Crossfield and call Crossfield their home as well and raise their families here.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
I think my biggest want for Crossfield is to watch it do slow, steady growth, become a destination for people to come and enjoy the beautiful parks, the amenities that are here, and just to meet the wonderful people who have welcomed us into their community so heartily. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Kim, first answer is to you for this next question. How do you respond to situations of adversity? How do you respond to situations of adversity?
So again, I have experience in this because working for a municipality, we see this every day. I work with a lot of not-for-profit groups who, they want to do things a lot faster than what a municipality can. So what I like to do is first listen to what the issue is, find out the facts, and then make a decision. And typically that decision for me is through collaboration.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
Believe me, in 30 years of working in local government, I've seen my fair share of adversity. But I think Kim is right. You have to listen. You have to empathize whether you can do something about the situation or you can't. And I find often that a good sense of humor helps to diffuse this whole situation.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
Well, the ladies have it all right then, so I got nothing else to say. No, I think we need to, we see adversity. We stop what we're doing. We take our time. We look at the facts. We talk about it, and we come up with a solution that works for everyone. There always is a solution. You just have to look for it and take your time and base it on fact.
Thank you, Justin. So we're moving into round 6. And I'll just say, so we've still got room for more questions. I'm going to go either to 8:45 or till the questions run out, whichever one comes first. At 8:45, we'll give our candidates the 2 minutes each to do their closing statements. So that still gives us 30 minutes of possible questions. And at the moment, I've got enough for 2 more rounds. So that's sort of where we're at the moment. Joe, you've got the first question for the next round. And in fact, I've got 2 questions that are thematically connected, so I'm going to combine them. I'm going to read them separately first, and then I'll combine them into a single question. So the question is to invest that would benefit all members of our community. Joe, you've got the first answer to that question.
I'm going to admit that I don't know a lot about the recreational spaces other than the parks. I love our parks. My dog loves our parks. I think, though, that investing in community spaces and recreation spaces is the best thing, and one of the best things a community can do. It engages our kids, it keeps them from doing things that aren't nearly as much fun for the recipient of their artwork, their destructive abilities. But I'll have to say that I think that community spaces are necessary. They bring a community together, and that's what I'd like to see for Crossfield.
Thank you, Joe. Justin? Pardon me. Oh, pardon me. Yes, I can do that. Do you need, yeah, I'll do the combined question then. So the question was, how do the candidates view our recreational and community spaces and the extracurricular programs, and where would you like to invest that would benefit all members of our community?
I'll start with the, I guess, the physical places that our kids get to go to. You know, I've seen it for the last 16 years. You know, it's getting dated. I know that the town has put some money back into the arena. I haven't actually stepped foot in it yet, but I'm waiting to take a look. Other rec places that we have in town, you know, maybe they probably could be updated. You know, this is a tough time for everybody, and I'm sure the money is tight within town. I guess the last part, I can't remember what the question was.
Extracurricular activities?
Oh, but what was beyond that?
That would, where would you invest that would benefit all members of the community?
Oh, that's a tough one. Everybody has different needs and wants for the town. That comes down to, you know, polling the town, talking to them, engaging, and you know what, just putting money into, you know, the skate park or may not please somebody, but I see the red lights on again for me, so thank you.
Thank you, Justin. And Kim?
Okay, so if you could just read the question
Certainly.
again for me, please.
How do the candidates view our recreational, community spaces, and extracurricular programs in town, and where would you like to invest that would benefit all members of the community?
Great. We have some actually really good assets in town. The arena is one of them. The golf course is another. The library does a lot of programming for us. The town of Crossfield has their summer day camps program, which is very popular. We do quite a few really good program, baseball, hockey, soccer. We've got a lot of activities in town. One thing that I would like to invest in, more than one thing, there's so many, and Justin's right when we say we should engage and survey the residents first, but some thoughts come to mind where campground, informal skateboard pump track, skateboard park, upgrades to the ball diamonds and the arena, as far as some additional dressing rooms for some of the girls when they're playing hockey and that type of thing. What some of these things will do when we upgrade them is attract people to town for tournaments. They can stay, play, eat, purchase their gas, and everything here when we have some upgrades to some of our recreation facilities where we host tournaments.
Thank you, Kim. Our second question will go to Justin to answer first. Justin, Crossfield is one of the very few towns running a balanced budget. With the changes to provincial funding, is it still prudent to run a balanced budget, or do unusual times allow for deficit financing? Again, Crossfield is one of the very few towns running a...
Well, that's, everybody likes it one way or the other, I guess. That is a tough question. You know, do we take the money out of your pockets now, or we take it out later? I think the town should always run a balanced budget. I don't think we should ever be in a deficit situation. And you know, if we got to kind of pick and choose where we spend our money, that's where we have to do it. You know, we got to dig deep and, you know, try to balance it as best we can. You know, if we get close, we get close. You know, you don't want to sacrifice too much, but you certainly want to be not in the hole.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
According to the MGA Act, I believe that all municipalities have to run a balanced budget every year, or within a 3-year period of time. Tough choices have to be made sometimes, but a balanced budget has to be balanced every year. Once you get into the hole, there's no digging yourself out, but we would have to follow the MGA Act on that one.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
Kim's absolutely right. The MGA says that you have to present a balanced budget. If you do end up with a deficit, the MGA gives you 3 years to make up that deficit. And at this point, I haven't heard that the provincial government is thinking about, they can run a deficit, but we can't. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Our next question will be to Kim for the first chance to answer it. Kim, how much do you think should be spent on it and when?
I think it's really hard to determine right now how much I think should be spent on the new town office, being I haven't been in the building, I haven't seen an assessment of the building, nor have I seen any preliminary plans for what it would look like and what the town needs to date. We would have to really have a good look at that, have a few proposals that the town council can choose from, and engage our public in what they want out of a town office before we can even determine those numbers.
Thank you, Kim.
Was there a second part of that question?
There wasn't. That was it. I can repeat the question if you... Okay. Joe?
Is it our exercise break?
Kim's absolutely right. It's hard for us at this point as we haven't seen the plans for the new building. I know there's going to be accessibility issues because there's stairs from one level to another in that building. So those would have to be addressed. It's an old building. I'm afraid that the costs are going to mount. I work in an old building right now. I work in a over 100-year-old train station. And believe me, when that north wind blows and it's 30 below, it is darn cold in there.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
I guess I'll take it maybe in a little different direction. I would maybe look at it at a higher level than just, you know, specifically looking at, you know, what the town had purchased to renovate for our town offices. You know, maybe there was other solutions that maybe not were looked at. I know, you know, for myself, it's great to you know, have nice, beautiful offices, and I wish that upon everybody to work in conditions like that are you know, healthy and you know, kind of promote our town as a beautiful place. But I'm not sure at this time that it is a great idea for us to go down that road, but maybe, you know, have some other options for council to look at for the solution of a new town office.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
I started.
You started?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, no, I did that to Joe twice, and so next time it's Justin's turn. Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, it might be getting late. So that was, Kim started, right. Okay, so we're going, so this is now then our, let's see, we're up to 7th round here. I think I've got time for 2 more rounds. I've got that many questions. And we're starting to get a little bit of repetition, so I am choosing the questions that seem the most unique at this point. The last three, I think we're going to, when I get to the next round, will be things we've seen a little bit of already, but worded in a slightly different way, so I'll give you a chance to revisit. So Joe, we're coming back to you. All right, so here is your question to answer first. How would you deal with a situation that technically falls within legal protocols, yet there might be an ethical dilemma? How would you deal with a situation that technically falls within legal protocols, yet there might be an ethical dilemma?
Just because something is legal doesn't make it right. I think that you have to look at the ethics and the morals of that decision. If it's going to hurt somebody or something unnecessarily, even though it's legal, I don't think it's right.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
I concur with Joe. I am, I guess, I don't know if there's any lawyers in the crowd, but I hope there are not, and I'll be outside later. But I think the laws are there to protect maybe people that make mistakes. So I think what we need to do is, look at our hearts when we're making a decision. And if we think it's wrong, it's wrong. No matter if I wouldn't say if it's the law says so, but we definitely look at it. If you feel that you need to look at it again, you need to look at it again on any issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
I think there is a difference between legal protocols, the MGA Act policy, and even sometimes the code of conduct that the council agrees to and signs off on. I think that it's important that each councillor not only holds themselves accountable, but holds each other accountable in making decisions. For example, part of being ethical is being transparent and accountable. I'll give you one example. So if we were to make a decision and it put 30 kids out of a program and it cost just that little bit more, wouldn't we just find a way to be able to do that? And we'd have to discuss that publicly and be transparent about it, but we would have to find a way so that those kids don't not have a program or something like that.
Thank you, Kim. Justin, first question, this question's to you to answer first. Are you in favor of businesses getting relaxations on their off-site levies? And how does it help us taxpayers who pay for all improvements? Again, are you in favor of businesses getting relaxations on their off-site levies? And how does it help us taxpayers who pay for all improvements?
I guess that's a tricky one. But honestly, I think if the businesses that are benefiting from the town's improvement, I believe that those levies should be paid. To a point, maybe we take a look at how much recovery we need to have, and but I definitely, everybody needs to kind of pay their own way, and if the town's willing to put up the money to do the improvements, and the businesses are going to benefit from those improvements, for sure.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
I think if it's an incentive to attract business to be here, we could do that for a period of time, but at that end of that period of time, they would have to pay their full levies and taxes to help taxpayers out.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
An off-site levy is a payment for things that are going to cost all of the municipality. If that business increases the amount of effluent going into the sewage lagoon, then they have to pay for that extra capacity that's needed. I mean, an off-site levy isn't like a frontage tax. So if you're going to get your street paved, you pay a frontage tax. But if what you're doing impacts the whole municipality, then it's called an off-site levy. And off-site levy should never be, no business should have a break on an off-site levy because it impacts the whole community. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. I got everybody with that question, right? Okay, see, I checked this time. Okay, Kim, the first chance to respond to the last question in this round goes to you. And I'll note, I think we'll end new questions. We haven't had one in a bit of time. So I've got 3 left after this one, for one more round. So that'll be the last of our 3 questions. So this one and then 3 more, and then we'll move to wrap things up. So Kim.
That's a good question. I haven't really thought of a plan for that, but I think that we can work together not only with our Chamber of Commerce, the town, some of our community groups to encourage shop local, host some events for them to shop local, have them participate and give coupons out at some of the events and hockey tournaments and other things that we do have, as well as, just make our residents and advertise and make them more aware of what we actually do have in town. I think we have quite a few businesses here that some people and some residents aren't even aware of. So really building that awareness campaign.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
Again, I think Kim's absolutely right. I think if the Economic Development Committee of the town works together with the Chamber of Commerce, they can set up some sort of a program to help acquaint people with the local businesses. I think the local businesses in Crossfield really help themselves. They're so friendly, they're so helpful. But I think we could do more for them.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
I think as town council and even the town itself, we need to bring awareness to all the businesses that have kind of stuck through this whole ordeal and help their residents. I know that I see one in the crowd there and that I'm thankful for, and I will truly support until I ever move out of Crossfield. So thank you, Carmen. I just think we need to get it out more that if we don't support our local businesses, that they're going to die off, and our town won't be as it is right now. It'll be even worse, and we need these residents to stay and shop in town and support these guys. They're just like you and I, and they need to make a living as well and support their families. So, shop Crossfield.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, this brings us to our final round. This is the last 3 questions. These 3 questions each are on a theme that we have had questions on previously, and they seem to be ones that did reoccur, so they're obviously on the mind of the community. So this will be one more opportunity for all 3 candidates to address 3 of the most prevalent questions, though the wording will be a little bit different than we've heard before. So, Joe, you have the first question, first answer on the first question, rather, of our last round. How would you prioritize spending on infrastructure and recreation? And where would you draw the line on unnecessary upgrades to infrastructure? Again, how would you prioritize spending on infrastructure and recreation? Where would you draw the line on unnecessary upgrades to infrastructure?
That's a tough question because the infrastructure is important. If the town doesn't have a skate park, it'll still be a town. If the town doesn't have water, it won't be a town. But I think the thing is, it's necessary to look at the, and I'm sure that the town has these studies on the age of our infrastructure, to look at where problems are, where they're existing, do cameraing, talk with our engineers, talk with our operations supervisor, the people who are out there every day looking at what is in Crossfield, what needs repairs. Don't just always listen to the engineers. They think they're experts. Sorry if I offended any engineers. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
I guess I'll turn it around to the crowd. You know, when you go home tonight, if you go have a shower or a bath, you know, you need those services to make those things happen. Turn the lights on, you know, make sure that the street lights are lighting up your car at night so it doesn't get vandalized. I am such a believer in the rec side of the town as well. So it's hard for me to, take that away as well. Just be balanced on what we're doing, but the important things are, you know, keep the water flowing, keep our toilets flushing, and keep the streets safe. So that's what I'd like to see. Unnecessary infrastructure, that's probably something that I'd have to look into what the town is doing already before I could comment on that.
Thank you, Justin. And Kim?
I think that we look at our asset management plan. We also look at our 10-year capital plan that each municipality usually has. And then sometimes we would have to defer projects if the budget doesn't allow for it. But we look at this as a balanced approach. I think that we need both to make a well-rounded town. You can't have a town without recreation and amenities, and you can't have a town without other infrastructure such as sewer and water and everything else. And council has to look at all sides of that and have a balanced approach. And like I said, through that asset management plan, we're going to know when infrastructure needs to be looked at and repaired and when it doesn't. Our 10-year capital plan guides us on those larger projects. And at the end of the year, if you do have some money left over for some smaller projects, we can have some quick wins like upgrades to the ball diamonds or a small pump track or other things that our residents might desire in the town.
Thank you, Kim. Our next question goes to Justin for the first answer. The question is, I know there is concern how the candidates will deal with pressure and influence of town councillors. I am interested how they will deal with community members who have their own agenda for Crossfield. I'll repeat the question. I know there is concern how the candidates will deal with pressure and influence of town councillors. I am interested how they will deal with community members who have their own agenda for Crossfield.
So I kind of deal with this already, being the head of the Elks. Everybody, not that they have their own agenda, but everybody has their own ideas on how, I guess, our money that we raise should be divvied up. And so what I like, you know, I listen to everybody and everybody equally and, you know, with respect. But certainly I would just base my decision on the facts and nothing else. You know, look at what's going on in the town, and you know, I can't make a, you know, we can't make any rash decisions, and yeah, just base everything on facts, and not try to, you know, be swayed by one group or the other. But that's it.
Thank you, Justin. Kim?
You know, I agree with what Justin said. You do have to listen. You want to be able to address and listen to concerns of our residents, and whether it's a concern or a positive. I think all decisions have to be made, not as individuals, but as council as a whole. So if somebody has an idea or a concern, I would encourage them to bring it forward to council so we can address it collectively, present to council if they have a great idea, and maybe we can figure out a way to help you out with that idea.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
I think both Justin and Kim are absolutely right. We need to listen. But we do have to make decisions as a council. But we shouldn't feel pressured to go against what we think is right. We need to look at the research. We have to look into what could go wrong, what could go right. I think that the decisions need to be made very conscientiously. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. All right, that brings us to our last question of the evening. And I note that it's 3 minutes to 8:45. Our timing's remarkable. So this is the last question, and I saved it. It's a bit of a maverick question. Everybody loves a maverick, after all, in that it doesn't follow the standard format they've been using, and so it's probably a good one to end with. I'm going to read the question exactly as written, and then I'm going to suggest a format to answer it for you, because it doesn't fit what we've been doing. You'll see what I mean when I ask the question. And again, Kim, you get the first crack at this one. With a show of hands, who does the majority of the following in Crossfield? Groceries, bank, vet care, get your mail, prescriptions, doctor, dentist, chiro, vehicle maintenance, tire, gas, insurance, restaurants, personal care, such as hair, alcohol, nails, massage, or cannabis, and who volunteers on at least one board. I think the intent of the question is for the candidates to explain how they're participating in the life of the town of Crossfield. So you've heard the question as written by the person who presented it, and I'll suggest that your answer might go something to how does each of the candidates participate in the life of Crossfield as asked by the asker, questioner. So Kim, you have our first crack at this one.
Sure. My family has been embedded in this community since we've moved here. It started with, buying our house here, and our kids participating in any sport that we could within Crossfield. There were some sports as they got into higher levels where we had to go outside, but for the majority, we stayed within Crossfield. I shop here. I see Carmen in there on a weekly, if not sometimes daily basis, because I'm in there so often. I get my tires here. I get gas here when I'm not in Airdrie working. We get a registration here. We did go to the doctor here, but unfortunately we don't have that, and that's something that we're going to have to address for Crossfield in the near future. So basically what I'm saying is we try to do as much as we can here. We support the businesses, and we feel that's important to help Crossfield thrive.
Thank you, Kim. Joe?
We're the same. We try and use as many of the businesses in Crossfield as we can. Unfortunately, I work in bicycles, so I leave at 7 and I don't get home till 5. But Leo loves the coffee shops. We love the restaurants. We shop at Carmen's. In fact, I think Leo drives them nuts at Carmen's. we try to be as evolved as we can. I belong to the library. Beautiful library, by the way. So I'm sure that the longer we're here, the more things we'll get involved with. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And Justin.
Well, that's an easy one for me. I shop here. I spend a lot of time in town. As of late, I just got a new job, but I'm still working for a company that works in this town. I volunteer for the Elks in this town. We help host many events in this hall. I've volunteered for the Crossfield Minor Hockey. Geez, I guess the list could go on, you know, I just love the community and love giving back to it. And I'm not sure what else. I guess I think people know what I've you know, stand for and try to do for this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. And that is the end of their question round. I think we need to give a big round of applause to our candidates for answering. If you weren't keeping track, it was 27 questions each, so that's pretty remarkable. I think you have a fulsome understanding of our candidates' views on a variety of issues, some more fraught than others, and so it was remarkable to be able to hear that. So I appreciate all three of you giving that much attention and time and thought to these questions. We're going to now have each candidate will have an opportunity to give a 2-minute wrap-up. We're going to go the reverse order of where we started. And so it's the order of our final 2-minute speeches will be Justin, followed by Joe, and then Kim. Now, Justin, before you come up, we're going to do, again, a wipe down because I've been standing here, breathing moistly, and we need to decontaminate.
I think you did
for
it again.
Yes, okay, enough said about that.
I will not speak moistly.
Okay, Justin, the podium is yours. Sorry. No, it's okay. That's my job to get you up there.
I'll be fairly quick. I really didn't write out an ending statement, but I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and enjoying our answers that we were able to provide you guys. I wish the best of luck for the other two candidates, and I can see how much the residents of Crossfield care about their town, you know, just by, you know, seeing as many people as are allowed in the building tonight. I'm sure there's more people watching, and I thank them too for watching tonight. Just in closing, I'd like to leave you with one thing. I talked about 4 things with council, and you know, I thought about before I came here tonight. One last thing is respect, and you know, be kind to each other, be kind to your neighbors. One last thing is to thank the ladies from the town. We really appreciate you for everything you do for us, and thank you again.
Yes, 2 hours of talking is thirsty work. Our second speaker, to wrap things up, is Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for the water, girls. In my experience with municipal government, the key to a successful, I have a terrible time with that word, community is to listen carefully to the concerns of the people. I'm thinking these questions were concerns of the people. Transparent and informative communication with the public is the means to providing a strong and enjoyable community that we can all be proud of. A municipality's major revenue source is the property taxes paid by landowners. The provincial and federal governments also offer some grant funding, but these are not plentiful, nor are they consistent, and certainly not sufficient to meet the needs of any community. Smaller towns like ours need to be managed efficiently and creatively in order to maintain infrastructure and services, as well as to secure a future. As your councillor and fellow taxpayer, it is my commitment to ensure that all decisions I make are made with a mind to ensuring that dollars are spent in a fiscally responsible manner. Thank you for taking the time this evening to engage in your community, hear the platforms of myself and my fellow candidates. I appreciate the opportunity, information, and the opinions you hear tonight, and make the best decision for Crossfield Council. Thank you.
Just, yeah, voice breathing's got to come off. And our final speaker of the evening, Kim.
So I'd like to start off with first saying thank you to all your great questions. You stumped me on a couple, but I think we got through it okay. And thanks to my fellow candidates. It takes a brave person to run for a position like this. And I wish you all the best of luck. And I would look forward to working with either one of you on council. I believe in a balanced fiscal responsibility, accountability, and transparency. I don't know if you have all seen my Facebook page. I have a website out there, but I've been willing to meet with people, answer any questions that have come about on the Facebook page. And so far I've proven accountability and transparency on there, and I'm going to continue to do that as I run for council. I think that Crossfield has the potential to be a great, beautiful, engaged town. I believe in the residents and engaging them to make that a reality. And I look forward to working with all of you after October 19th when you vote for Kim. And if you want more information, go to electkimharris.ca or .net. electkimharris.net. That's my website. I will update it after the forum with some of these questions and the answers that I have for it. At any time, contact me, and I'd be willing to talk to you. Thanks for coming out tonight.
You know. Okay. I'm not sure if you picked that up in a microphone, but that's okay. Actually, what I was thinking was a person might get used to this. It's not quite rose petals being thrown down in front of you, but it's so close. So close. Yeah, I mean, close enough. I've never had rose petals, but now I've had somebody wipe the podium, so thank you. A couple of quick things to share before we wrap up this evening. Monday, October 19th, starting at 10 a.m., ending at 8 p.m., please come out, have your say, and vote. I'm a political junkie. I so enjoy these forums. I enjoy seeing people engaged. There's an expression in politics that all politics is local politics, and is that any truer than at a municipal by-election? The questions we heard are not theoretical. They are personal. They impact our lives day to day, and there's things we actually see when we walk down the street. And so our three candidates have addressed our lives in a very real way. And I'm going to invite you to applaud once again for our three candidates. And maybe just stand up. Kim Harris, go ahead, all three of you. Kim Harris, Justin Gustafson, Joe Lambert, have a stand. On Monday the 19th, and thank you all, you're going to have a chance to vote. You can sit down again. I won't make you stand. I'm not cruel. And the most important thing is to vote. A few thank yous for people in the room. So our returning officers who have organized this event. So thank you, ladies, as well. And then our audiovisual team who has taken this out to the entire world. If anybody in Europe is watching, welcome to Europe. So thank you to our team there. And I have to say, I gave our timer a really hard time, ironically, at the start. So a big thank you to you, sir, as well for timing. And finally, to all of you, both in the room and at home, who submitted questions, who came out, who's participating, thank you for being part of our community, sharing the questions, and making it a vibrant live process. And so a final and ending big thank you to all of you. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. And with that, unless there's anything further from our returning officers, I wish you a good night. We will see you, well, I won't be here, but I'll see you virtually on Monday, the 19th of October. Have a good night.
As you leave, I do have some postcards at the back if you want to pick one up.
There is literature for all of our candidates at the back. You can go through. So have a good night.